Hello everyone, Mr. Lipchik here. The topic of our discussion today concerns the spread of Islam. Muhammad died in 632 CE. There were about 100,000 Muslims at the time of his death. Intertribal feuding and raiding resumed. Upon Muhammad's death, Abu Bakr of the Umayyad clan, one of his original followers, was chosen by Muhammad's closest advisors to become caliph. The caliph is a religious and political leader within Islam. This was the beginning of the Rashidun, or rightly guided caliphate, which would have 4 caliphs: Abu Bakr, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Rashidun Caliphate would expand Islam beyond Arabia through military conquest. It would spread to Persia, Armenia, and Egypt, as well as Cyprus. Abu Bakr first set about to reunite the tribal communities within Islam. He engaged ex-Muslims in the Ida Wars in 633 CE, reviving Islam within the tribes and directing their energies towards conquering other empires. He began the process of having Muhammad's teachings recorded into a book, which today we know as the Quran. He died in 634 CE. A standard version of the Quran was completed in 654 CE by his successor Uthman, who had all other versions destroyed. When Muhammad died, he did not specify a process for choosing a successor. When Abu Bakr was chosen as the first caliph, Ali, who became the 4th Rashidun Caliphate, had supporters who wanted him to be caliph. Ali's supporters believed that only members of Muhammad's family should become caliphs. Ali was his cousin. Abu Bakr's supporters believed that the caliph should be chosen by Muhammad's close associates. Abu Bakr's supporters won the dispute, but this was the beginning of an important split within Islam. Ali's accession to the caliphate set off a civil war, the first fitna. Factions within Islam fought to gain control of the nation. It ended with Ali's assassination in 661 CE. Ali's followers formed a separate branch of Islam, the Shia. Shia means faction of Ali. They believe today that Ali was Muhammad's rightful successor. Their spiritual leaders are called imams. Shia versus Sunni. The name Sunni comes from sunnah, or behavior of the Prophet Muhammad. The Shia are about 15% of Islam. Shia are the majority faith in Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Sunni predominate in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and North Africa. Shia and Sunni Muslims believe essentially the same things: the Quran and Hadith literature, the 5 pillars of Islam, and Islamic rituals, as well as Islamic law. Differences between the Sunni and Shia include the Shia having a more elaborate religious hierarchy than the Sunni, and Shia religious figures being deeply venerated, while the Sunni clerics are not. In the years following the death of Muhammad, Islam spread rapidly. Islamic warriors conquered new territories, fighting aggressively as they were inspired by their faith. The Umayyad dynasty succeeded the Rashidun Caliphate in 661 and ruled until 750 CE. They conquered Syria, North Africa, Spain, parts of India, and islands in the Mediterranean. The Umayyad dynasty tolerated the religious beliefs of conquered peoples who were monotheistic. Non-Muslims had to pay a head tax or jizya. Non-Muslims had limited social mobility, and this caused some people to convert, although they were not forced to. The Umayyads lived luxuriously, causing them to lose favor with Muslims within their empire. The Umayyads were eventually replaced by the Abbasid dynasty, 750 to 1258. The Abbasid dynasty was founded by Abu al-Abbas, a Sunni Arab, allied with Shia non-Arab Muslims. The Abbasids seized control of Mesopotamia and Persia, and they defeated the Umayyad army in 750. They invited the Umayyads to a banquet and then massacred them. Only Spain remained under the control of the Umayyads, that is, the Iberian Peninsula in Europe. The Abbasid leaders included many non-Arabs. The Abbasids were great warriors, but were not focused on expanding the empire. The Abbasid reign is often referred to as the Golden Age of learning within Islam. It was a long period of stability and prosperity, which was gained through trade. Centers of learning developed within the Muslim world, centered around Baghdad, with advancements in mathematics, philosophy, law, astronomy, and the sciences. In 809 CE, the caliph Harun al-Rashid died, leading to a civil war between his sons. Local leaders asserted their independence. The Abbasid caliphs fell under the control of the Persian nobility. The Seljuk Turks, a non-Arab people from Central Asia, began to settle in the Middle East and asserted control over much of it. The Seljuks had converted to Sunni Islam. They established the Sultanate, a system of religious and political rule. The Seljuk Empire extended over Mesopotamia, Syria, Persia, Palestine, and most of present-day Iran. They also conquered the Anatolian Peninsula, which constitutes present-day Turkey. The 13th century Seljuk Empire gave way to the Ottoman Empire. A Turkish tribal leader, Osman I, began to assert control over the empire. His descendants would continue to acquire territories and expand its borders. The Ottoman Empire would see the greatest geographical expansion during its existence. The Ottoman Empire would eventually end the Byzantine Empire, capturing Constantinople in 1453, renaming it Istanbul. In addition to North Africa and the Middle East, the Ottomans extended their empire into southeastern Europe. They would defeat many European armies, eventually reaching the gates of Vienna, Austria. The Ottoman Empire would last until the end of the First World War and experienced a long period of decline prior to that. The Ottomans were initially based, their success was initially based upon superior military technology, particularly in artillery. However, over time, the weaponry of the European powers surpassed that of the Ottomans, making their territories vulnerable. Also, the Ottomans made no attempt to create a unified Ottoman nationality or religious identity under Islam. They allowed Christians and Jewish communities to govern themselves, this was called the millet system, and use their own languages and practice their own religions. The Ottoman territories were responsible for paying taxes or tributes to the Ottoman Empire, which was its primary concern. Non-Muslims were generally not mistreated. However, they did not enjoy the same rights and privileges as Muslims. Muslims were exempted from the head tax. Some non-Muslims converted to Islam in order to find greater social and economic mobility, but not in great numbers. Because the Ottomans failed to assimilate the peoples within their territories, the Ottoman Empire lacked a sense of nationalism that it needed to rally the population to its defense. By the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire was disintegrating due to Russian territorial aggression and ethnic nationalism among its subject peoples. The major powers of Europe wanted to control its territories as part of their imperial empires. At the end of the First World War, the successor state, Turkey, was limited to the Anatolian Peninsula. Islamic and Arab nationalism would continue to be a force in much of the former Ottoman Empire. Western powers would now shape and dominate these territories. The influence of Islam, however, would remain. The Muslim religion would continue to be practiced in these areas. Islamic advancements in math, science, and other areas would reinvigorate Western thought and have a permanent impact on European civilizations. That concludes our discussion on the spread of Islam. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to speaking with you at a near time. Have a great day.